Michael is on. Oh. So what do we do now? Okay, so I sent something. Can you all hear me?
Yes.
Yep.
I suggested that people who want to speak keep their microphone open, and I will the way I see people in a certain order. And if your microphone is red, then I won't invite you to speak. Does that sound fair enough?
Doesn't work because you get feedback.
Yes? No?
Can I make a suggestion, Carolyn?
Sure. Hi, Kat.
Hi, just because there might be background noises, that everybody mutes and raise your hand when you want to speak, and then
Yeah, but I thought that this way I can at least tell who. All right. Raise your hand when you want to speak.
I don't know how to mute. I don't see the button. Sorry, I'm not that advanced.
All the way down on the lower left corner.
Okay, I'm muted while I'm doing
You're
it.
not.
Goes to Peter.
I'll just be very quiet.
Your reality.
So are we ready? Can we start, Josh?
Yeah, go for it.
So, Kath, on our field, Catherine Kannenberg is the first person who has an unmuted mic. Talk. Kath,
yeah. Did you say talk?
please.
Oh, okay.
I'm sorry to be I'm nervous.
No, it's okay. No, I was just going to say that the note I wrote you when I learned of Peter's passing just mentioned that he had such great energy, joie de vivre. He really appreciated good food and drink. I remember every time so I traveled with Carolyn and Peter a couple of times to Europe, and Peter had a habit of when he'd walk into a bar in Germany, he'd right away order his pills because he knew it took 7 minutes for the foam to subside enough to be able to drink it. And he just, he would just smack his lips and enjoy a good glass of wine. When we arrived in Sexton, he loved the welcome drink that they always provide, the schnapps. And he just really enjoyed the finer things in life, enjoyed travel. And I'm sorry that in his later years, he didn't have much of a chance to do that because of his physical ailments. But when Carolyn speaks, we may tell a story that involves a couple of friends that I traveled with one summer in Venice. And if there's time, then maybe she'll share that story. She saw Peter's perspective of it, and I had a different angle on that event. So I'll turn it over to somebody else.
Thank you, Kath. Can you hear me? Kathy, can you hear me? Are we muted?
Yes, I just muted myself, but I unmuted. Yeah, I can hear you.
Because we were just talking about Peter and going into going into restaurants and identifying himself to, how he had all these favorite places. And you're echoing something that we said a few minutes ago. So
you all are having a party there.
Oh yes, we broke out the Prosecco.
we are.
Andrea,
Our face coverings are here.
Andrea, I read the last 4 lines. It's beautiful, just beautiful. The Rossetti poem, very nice.
Thank you, Andrea.
Thank you.
So the next person who has an Virge.
Yes. I don't have a little story to tell. So I'm going to pass the wand onward.
Okay, I'm looking for mics that are open. Heine. Guten Abend, Heine.
Guten Abend.
Hallo, Helge. So, guten Abend, danke.
Das ist Helga und Heiner hier.
Oh.
Prost. Prost.
Habt ihr Kathy gesehen? Sie ist auch da.
Ja, haben wir.
Ach so, Prost.
Prost.
Of Peter.
Of Peter.
I have some words that Helga and Heine wrote earlier in the week, and I'll share those after.
Well, you want me to tell you something?
Sure.
well, we mourn for our friend Peter. You know, we got to know each other in '83 when he first started as an exchange professor in Frankfurt, and then almost every year he came back to Frankfurt.
Yeah.
And so he was sort of a split personality, because when he was in what was the name where he lived in New Jersey, in
Lawrenceville.
Lawrenceville, he called us and said, "Oh, I have to come back to Frankfurt." And when he was in Frankfurt, all over the years, we did so many things together. We were in Spain, we were in all parts of Germany with him. And he was sort of a member of our family.
Yeah.
And the last time we met him, that was in 2019. Can you hear us?
Yes.
Perfect.
Okay. Oh, now I see the picture again, yes. So in 2019, he walked with a stick, and he was really getting old. And he was not happy. When he was here, after a week, he said, "Oh, I shouldn't have come." And then we always had contact via telephone when he was back in Lawrenceville. And then in the home, he wanted to come back to Frankfurt, but it never happened.
Yeah.
So we are all very sad and mourn with you. He was one of us.
Thank you.
That
That's
we miss him very much.
That's something else that we had just been saying a few minutes ago, just as Kathy echoed something that we said, and Nina's echoing something we just said. I'm looking for another open mic that suggests you might want to join in. Is that my sister Holly?
Yes.
You have a couple words?
Just a couple. Yes, I was thinking about my trip to Europe for the first time on my own in the early 70s to come visit you all in Frankfurt, while you were living there. That was one of the best experiences of my life that I can say I own. And I think it was a two-week vacation that they gave me, and this is right out of college. Anyway, when we traveled there, we made a plan. You, Peter, and I to once we got there, we did a driving trip north, south, but the southern part of Germany. But the big part of it was to keep a memory of where I'd been by collecting these little beer coasters, and we put dates and times and the actual beer. That's my special memory. And I kept those beer coasters. I think I must have had 50 of them. And this was over a period of 2 weeks. So that's and when we were traveling, Peter saying, this is what we do in certain places, as in the bathroom is down the hall.
That's right.
Certain things that I was being indoctrinated into, and I'm going to keep it short, but it was eye-opening, and that's my favorite.
Thank you, Holly. Carol and Wink from New Mexico are showing, they just held up a beer coaster.
And Eric and Aman and Coco, hi.
All the New Mexico.
Hi.
So Bent has his thing muted. So so we're looking for people who have their open, not muted. Is there somebody else that wanted to chime in?
How can you?
Mika, did we
The
stop?
little red thing is a mute.
Michael, where are the pictures? So,
He's
Michael,
chosen not to.
Michael,
Michael?
bist du da? Michael,
Probably
Bist du
doesn't
da?
know that he's muted.
Margaret?
Margaret's here.
Oh, Margaret.
Hi, hi, how are you?
Good, Margaret. How are you?
I'm good, I'm good. I have so many stories about Peter. He was my first friend when I moved from Michigan to New York. He became friends of all my family, by the way, wishes Motley and his family, everybody well. Everybody
Thank
loved
you.
him. My daughter especially. He taught my daughter everything there is to know about beer. All I did was work. But he would be out here at my house in Northport for the weekend. Beth would come in from the city. They would be waiting for me, and they would hit every beer pub around. And he said, "Oh, you must be educated on beer." And so I told her that we were going to meet today. She said, "Oh my God, could I tell Peter stories?" But he was wonderful. He had great taste in everything. Just
Yes, he did.
yeah.
Yes, he
And
did.
when I met him, I wrote a story, and I don't know, Motley, if you read it to people or not. But,
Yes.
yeah. Anyhow, he picked me up in the Museum of Art and took me drinking, basically. And he taught me everything about the city. I knew nothing. I'm a little girl from Michigan. And then I started to travel internationally. He says, "Oh, no, 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 no. You don't know anything about travel, Margaret. Let me show you." And he would go with me. And I learned the best places, the best restaurants. I learned all about Europe. We only traveled to Europe and all around the United States. We went out to the West Coast. Whenever I had a business trip, he'd say, "Please, I'll buy a ticket. Let me accompany you. You need a chaperone.
Right.
Of all people, you redhead, you need a chaperone."
Yeah.
So he was just the best. And he always says, "I am not a tourist." He was kind of haughty that way. "I am a traveler. I know," and he did. He knew exactly how to travel anywhere.
And be
But
present. Yeah.
I miss Peter so very, very much. My daughter and he were very, very close. And a friend of hers, Tamar, who died last year, we were going to call Tamar and tell her about Peter, but she's gone. The three of them used to hang out, wait for me to get back from work. And, he taught us so much. But I loved Peter. I still love Peter, and I miss Peter. So,
Margaret.
yes.
Katie is unmuted.
Katie,
So I'm a little jealous that Margaret got to go out drinking with Peter instead of going to the museum, because I remember going to museums with Peter and not getting to drink. So
We went to the museums here, but we drank also. I remember once my daughter, he and I were at the MoMA, and we met for lunch, and they had just started serving liquor. And I had a glass of wine, and we were laughing so hard. I fell off my chair. Then my daughter fell off her chair. Then Peter spilled his wine.
Goodness.
Laughing.
yeah.
So
My MoMA experience was not that fun in finding a floor. But what my one memory that really stands out is when you go through the memes on Facebook and you say, check yes if you've done this, and so because of Peter, I can always check off eating escargot. And I don't know if Amanda remembers him getting us to eat snails at I think it was Kitty Hawk. So that's my funny memory of him convincing us to eat snails.
Debbie.
she has her microphone muted.
No, there's another Debbie, though. There's two Debbies.
Yes, I wanted to acknowledge Bob German, my other half.
Hi, Bob.
Hi, Bob.
He's not here tonight because of risk reduction,
Hi, I just unmuted.
Good.
but he wanted to be.
Bob German.
Doesn't want to risk it. Right.
No.
Understandable, Bob. Miss you.
Yeah, I just didn't want to. I don't want to take any more chances than I need to.
Absolutely. Stay safe. That's the
You're welcome.
latest to say.
And while I'm at it, I just want to say, Chris, did you just unmute? My brother.
Chris, he did.
Yeah, I did. In keeping with, Peter taught me what real beer was, but more importantly, he introduced me to real liquid beer or bread, real bread, which I had never.
Ah.
We went to the farmer's market somewhere near Lawrenceville. I can't remember where it was. And it was the first time I had bread that was real and wonderful. And it's, I still seek that kind of bread. So
You bake your own these days, don't you?
I'm not one of the sourdough crew that is doing sourdough during COVID. I have a nephew that's doing that. I have made my own bread, but nothing like what we got at that farmer's market. Do you remember what it was? What it was? Maybe Polish bread?
Benton Farmers Market and
Sure.
the
Yes.
Polish bakery is
Yes.
still there.
Yeah, we called it Lithuanian rye bread.
Yeah.
It had such a wonderful aroma that you just put it on the counter and it wafted all through the house.
He also taught me that you don't need 2 pieces of bread to make a sandwich.
That's right. Very European.
Yeah. Yep. I learned that from Peter and from Wink, who's Wink and
Wink.
Carol are there.
Wait,
Oh, I see
you are
that.
muted. Unmute yourself.
Okay, now you're on.
Okay,
You're
now,
on.
now you can talk.
Okay.
Yes.
Hello.
Want you all to know that what Peter taught you about beers from me.
That's right. That's right.
And, well, I recall I had to take them to school. When they got to Lakewood, when they got to Seabrook,
Right.
Peter had to go to high school. And he didn't know what that was. So I drove him to Bridgeton and got in there with some boss man and said, okay, would you take this guy? And that guy said, does he drink beer?
No.
And anyway, that's what I sort of remember. The other thing I remember about is where we were in Frohnhausen, up in the woods. There was a place that the German army had left to repair cars. So I took Peter and a couple other kids and we saw a car there that seemed to run, but of course no engine. But we were downhill anyway, so who cares? So I took him and a bunch of kids on down the hill, and he did all right.
You could have killed him. Yeah.
All right. That's about all I know.
Oh, you know more than that.
But he can't tell. Those are stories that he can't tell. One of the things I want to remember about Peter is that I helped him with his dissertation. It was on Joseph Roth, and it was somebody I never heard of at the time, but he has actually been written about more, recently. So he picked a good topic for that one, I guess. But the one thing I want to call out, I think you all will remember this, that he was forever sending postcards. He would
yes.
always have
Oh, yes,
Yes.
yes.
everybody a postcard, and he never forgot a birthday. He was so good about sending birthdays. So he was really up on that kind of thing.
He sent postcards across town.
He sent postcards with special messages, and I only see the big picture. He would have little notes or a special stamp to give you a special meaning. And I'm usually good at puzzles, but his postcards, I started looking, they were like puzzles. I would get so many messages depending on the stamp, depending on a particular word, depending on whatever. They were almost like riddles. And I would get postcards regularly from him, and he'd get so frustrated if I couldn't figure out the riddle that he had sent me, because he put so much thought into these little postcards.
Sometimes his messages were a little cryptic.
Yeah. Right.
I want to add, as far as telling, getting in touch with people, Peter was really important to him. If something came on the television or was going to be on the radio, he called people to say, you're not going to want to miss this. He was very good at connecting people with something on the media that they should.
Yeah. Do you guys remember his pig roasts that he would have every summer?
Yes.
I've never been to a pig roast. My God.
And then at one point it was a lamb too.
Yes. I like the lamb better than the pig.
They were phenomenal. They were an event of the year.
Yeah.
One of those, he was actually teaching my son Tom to kick a little soccer ball.
Right.
They're running around with no shirts on, and I'm not even sure they had shoes on. And they.
Holly, your son Tom did send a little memory by text to the effect. And it's neat that you're remembering the same thing that Tom said about.
It is kind of neat. I mean, that we're going back 40 years.
More than that.
Yeah.
More than that.
Going to read any
yeah.
memories that came on text?
Pardon me?
Are you going to read any of the memories that people sent by text? Or were they there? Did I miss something?
We can, where do we start? We have, I have another story of Andrea's.
Hello. Hi.
Andrea, we heard some of your stories earlier.
Where was I? When was the meeting?
No,
Oregon.
No. Before the Zoom, we had a gathering outside on the deck earlier.
Oh, I didn't know. I thought the meeting started at 5. So
It did. You haven't missed anything, but I'm going to read an additional contribution of yours, Andrea, if it's okay.
That's all right. I just didn't know. But
He said Peter received.
Who is that?
mute.
Opening. By Crip.
Peter received an invitation from my son's fiancée to attend their wedding, so he attended on his own. Another man was on my arm for the occasion. We three got along so well at the reception that I asked Peter to follow us back to my house for a final drink before leaving for home. Peter was the last to leave. There's no story implied here. Peter was a gentleman and my friend. Yep, that came from Andrea.
Yep.
Oh.
And I want to say something that that Kurt Potsy wrote several months ago when Peter was still living. This was March 8th, and Motley was just giving us an update by email about the cardiologist and blockage and all that. And Kurt Potsy, who's not here because he's in San Francisco, said, Motley, thanks for all your messages regarding Peter and your attention to his needs. I'm hesitant to call him directly because the last 2 times I think I woke him up and he sounded confused. So I depend on you for updates and passing on my affection for him to him for him from me, i.e., give him a sweet, gentle hug for me when you can. As I've said before, I wish I had a sister like you. Powell is fine as a big brother and doing very well these days in spite of severe arthritis in his hands and feet, and who knows where else, but he's not a sister. Peace and hugs to all, Kurt. And that was 3 months ago today. 5 months ago today.
Oh,
5 months, yeah.
4 months that he's gone,
Yeah.
close to 4. Mishael, are you there?
Michael Risch.
Mishael Risch, bist du da?
Oh, okay.
Wer ist denn der Michael Risch?
No, it's Heine talking.
Yeah, I know, but
And-
why is the name?
Because he's chosen not to put.
Oh, I
video.
see, okay, okay.
Okay. And Ben.
Ben is on
Ben
mute.
is there, but muted.
All right. Aman,
I could share something if.
Aman,
Munir, Munir's
Munir,
gonna
yes,
share.
Munir.
Munir, I'll go first. All right. So, being very young for Uncle Peter's, ending of his years, I didn't really know him all that well. But I'm grateful to say that the last memory I have of Uncle Peter is actually the happiest for me. Because I visited New York on my own a year ago, August 2019. And we just had this really nice casual talk about Bundesliga, the German football soccer teams. And I will never forget, I was like, so Uncle Peter, who's your favorite team? And he was like, you know what? I liked Bayern for a little bit because they're doing really well. But, Dortmund's doing better now, so I like them more now. I was like, Uncle Peter, you bandwagon, what are you doing? Because I'm a Bayern fan. I was like, Uncle Peter, you can't do that. That's not allowed. You can't just go to Dortmund. They're the rivals. So I feel that now every time that I watch a German soccer game or Bayern and Dortmund, I feel like I'm kind of preserving his legacy in a way, because that was, that was my memory and connection to him was through German football. So now every time I watch it, I think of him. So yeah, that's what I wanted to say. Thank you.
Thank you.
I think that's so cool. I just was going to say that I didn't share before was Uncle Peter and my son Tom, who was very young, kicking the ball around. And I think that got him started into soccer or football. And he was actually pretty good at it.
Good.
In addition, ladies, do you remember what a fine dancer he was?
Yes.
He was Fred
Oh,
Astaire. He was Fred Astaire.
He was a good dancer.
I thought I had here what Mark Winkle sent from Indonesia a few hours ago today. Because it
was so nice.
Time when this started, but he linked some of the connection with our Cannonberg family, with our family, and going to the Kitty Hawk and the Nags Farm. And I loved the way Mark Winkle, whether they're at the beach in Bali or at the beach in the Outer Banks, it's all about fish, family, and fun.
Right.
And so I wanted to say that for the benefit here.
Right. He loved Kitty Hawk. Love. Well, obviously, he bought the place in Kitty Hawk. You bought the place in Kitty Hawk. And years later, when Josh wanted to go to Kitty Hawk, he rented that place. He found it and he rented it like 2 years. So the same place on Hickory, he rented it.
Oh my goodness.
Same place that Carolyn and Peter owned. Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
Munir.
Munir kommt doch jetzt.
Yes, hi. So I had a chance to see Uncle Peter in Basel last year, actually.
Awesome.
And although it didn't start off as under the best circumstances because he was in the hospital at the time, as he got better and got out of the hospital, then we were able to have a nice dinner, and of course he had some nice wine and some beer, and we just sat and we talked, and I realized just how many things I was still learning about him. Like I had no idea that there was a Florence teaching in the summers in I don't even know what years. I knew about Ethiopia, but I didn't realize he was also having lived in Florence and taught there. And so it was just nice to hear all the various adventures and stories that he has had, and the people he has met throughout all these years. So that was special.
Wonderful.
Many adventures in different places.
I mentioned that Florence experience, Munir. We've not met, by the way, I don't think. I'm Carolyn. But,
nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. I've heard wonderful things about you. But I mentioned the Florence experience earlier when we were, before the Zoom talk, because that was called Summer Study in Italy, and that was a program that Peter Winkle created. He conceived it, he created it, he put it all together, and we didn't just teach there. He brought this troop of students that were, the first year they were aged 18 to 80, and we did that together for a bunch of years following. But yes, I'm glad that you got to hear a little bit about that from him. Ben is awfully quiet.
Okay, you all know what the New York Times is, don't you?
Yes.
Heard of it.
Okay.
That was Peter's favorite paper. Now, I remember when Peter, that was right after Rutgers, I guess. And New York Times showed a bunch of kids or grown-ups or what, they were having a good time because they graduated. And there was a picture of Peter among all sorts of people.
So he was in the New York Times.
So he was in the New York Times. I've never been there.
He also had a letter to the editor printed in the New York Times, come to think of it. That was a big honor.
He did like to set things straight. He didn't like something, he wanted you to know he didn't like it.
I think that runs in the family.
I think you're right. And here's my finger. And it's not that finger, it's just a pointer, see?
Who said that about
Good.
running in the family? Oh, very good. She would know, she's in the family.
That's right. That's right. Well,
thank you, everybody. Any other thoughts? We're getting close to the kinda.
Yeah. Well, it was so interesting to hear all these things which are familiar to me because he sent postcards when we had birthday, for Christmas, for Easter. He was a good host.
Yeah.
We spent a lot of time in his place in Lawrenceville, and friends of ours went there because we had recommended, and he would invite them. And he would read the New York Times, but also the German papers in Lawrenceville. He was informed about the German soccer leagues and what happened in Frankfurt, and so incredible. So thank you so much for that beautiful evening. Is it going on? We don't, only in Germany it's midnight, but but we still watch and listen to you. And Madly, we want to thank you for what you did for your brother, huh?
Hear, hear.
Yeah, yes.
Here,
Yes.
here.
I did it out of love.
Can I just end this on a somewhat spiritual note? I sent a little poem to Madly that is called, it's not a poem, what's a poem? It's called Miss Me But Let Me Go. Madly, do you want to read those 4 lines or would you like me to?
Go ahead.
I think the whole want to hear it. I want into the whole poem, but the last 4 lines of Miss Me But Let Me Go are, when you are lonely and sick of heart, go to the friends we know and bury your sorrows in doing good deeds. Miss me, but let me go. And I just wanted to say that because I do miss him and I'll learn to let him go.
It was beautiful. There's Ben.
Ben is getting
Okay.
admitted.
Ben is getting admitted, okay. Ben.
He's connecting to audio. Thank you, Andrea.
Andrea, that was just beautiful.
Well, I just something that I thought maybe you.
Guck mal.
Oh, picture of Peter.
Peter, on the Denkmal. Nieder, what's the name of that place? Niederwald Denkmal.
Peter used to say that he and I were connected actually through language because I speak Hungarian fairly well and he speaks Estonian, and those languages are actually related to the related at that level
to languages. Ben, can you hear us?
Ben.
We wouldn't know if you do because you're muted.
Ben.
Can
we just keep Ben?
Ben, if you want to, you could unmute yourself in the lower left-hand corner.
It looks like he had an audio problem. There was something going on.
Okay. Michael, last chance. Are you there? Michael, bist du da? Ah, that's too bad. I would like to see him.
Yeah. Well,
So can I just say thank you to whoever came up with this idea? It's like the latest thing.
Carolyn, the Zoom.
Yep.
Zoom.
Yeah, this has been great. I mean, I go to my planning and zoning meetings now. As a member, I sit at home and we do WebEx, and it's just amazing. So, anyway,
well, we
brave
thought
new
that was
world.
a good way to include more of the people that couldn't be here from far
Some
away.
of you were just too far away, and some of you couldn't make it because it's just too tricky. And whatever the reason, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for being there.
Well, thank you for including it. It's very nice to be able to reach out and touch all Peter's loved ones.
Who's it?
Well, the good thing is, it's nothing for me to remember.
Happy
It
birthday.
happened.
Happy birthday. That's
Happy
right.
birthday, Peter. Happy birthday, Peter.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining.
Thank you.
Thanks for including. Thank you.
To add.
Cheers. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ciao.
Bye-bye.
Eric.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Ben is there now. Ben, can we hear you?
Ben, are you there?
Yeah, Ben Sherrick is connecting to audio. We'll hang on, Ben.
Who's up in the top right?
Kathy.
My sister.
Carolyn's sister. It's Katie.
Oh, Ben, you just muted again.
And Birgit is our cousin.
Ben just muted again.
And the second from the left in the middle row.
Jim and Holly.
My
are
sister
her
Holly and
sister
Jim.
husband. Okay. So, and Chris was her brother, is her brother.
Yeah.
And Heiner.
And was Andrea on this?
Andrea has dropped, I think. Yeah.
Okay.
So Michael says, greetings to all of you. The audio is not working.
Ah, too bad.
That's
Schade, Michael. Sehr
Danke,
schade.
Michael. So Ben is asked to unmute.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay. Ask to unmute.
Yep, there you go.
Yeah, he was unmuted and then he muted himself again.
So I guess we
That's
get
what he chooses
I guess
to
we
do.
get the message.
All right, it's okay, Ben.
Know his way around too.
It's okay, Ben.
Stay in
This
touch.
is-
Stay in touch, everybody.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Cheers.
Goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Heine.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Heine, Helga, thank you for staying up so late.
Holly, Jim, thank you for calling.
Thank you.
Missed it.
Sabrina,
Thank you.
Katie,
It's an honor.
Katie,
mwah,
Kathy,
and
Holly, Jim, Bob. Thank you,
Margaret, thank you so much.
Margaret.
Thank you so much. Thank you, including me. Thank you.
Oh,
Meet
absolutely.
you all. Love you guys.
Felicidades, tía Carolina.
Chao, chao. Gracias por la nueva dirección de email. Ahora la tengo bien. Ciao, everybody. Shall we end? Or they,
I have no idea.
before they end us? Okay, I'm ending before.
I think you should end before
Bye-bye.
hackers.
At 40 minutes, they'll disconnect you automatically.
It doesn't always, no. It's sometimes they give you a gift of some more minutes, but.
Thank you.
But I think before they do, we'll just end it. Okay, I'm clicking off, everybody. See you later, Bob.
Oh, thank you. Bye-bye.
Miss Helga, Heine.
Bye-bye.
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 Margaret.
Bye-bye.
Germany.
Bye-bye.
Okay, I've ended. And again.
It's delicious, Natalie. Everything is
So,
All. Meeting for all.